Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Wilson. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Congregational Life Coordinator here at First Universalist Church of Rochester, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this service here on this drizzly Sunday morning. If you are here for the first time this morning, we especially welcome you. We invite you and everybody to remain after the service for coffee hour behind me in the Clara Barton Lounge or online in the same Zoom link. I want to extend a special thank you to our piano player, Nicholas Williams, they, them pronouns, for filling in for Brock this Sunday. Yes. Thank you. There is a visitor's form on the back of your order of service, or you can click on the link in the chat. So we invite you to fill that out if you haven't already, so we can keep you updated as to what's going on here at First Universalist beyond this Sunday morning. Just a reminder, if you have a big joy or sorrow in your heart this morning, to please enter it in the chat or write it in the notebook here on the chancel before the chalice is lit this morning. So in the chat now would be a good time online, or during our welcome in just a moment would be a good time here in person. Some announcements. I'll turn your attention to the order of service announcement section. We're still looking for help with our alcove team, so see Michael or Adam if you're interested, or come see me if you can't find them. There is a vegan potluck lunch coming up this week. There's sign-ups in the Clara Barton Lounge. Our homemade holiday starts next Sunday, so next Sunday is the time to start bringing in those crafted wares, and then we'll begin the sale the following Sunday. The YRUU room, or the room 21 on the second floor, today is kind of our last day. We'd like everything claimed or moved today, so today is the move or forever hold your peace day for anything left in that room. And immediately after service today, we are holding a newcomers gathering meeting in the back of the sanctuary. So anybody interested in learning more about this church, our faith, or the process to membership is welcome to attend. All right, before we turn towards our neighbor, let's say hi to our online community by waving towards the Progress Pride flag where the camera is. If you're online, pop a greeting in the chat, say hi to each other. We're happy you're here joining us today. And if you're here in person, now's a great time to turn towards your neighbor and offer a greeting. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Reverend Eileen, she, her, and I want to invite you to stay standing if you already are, or to rise in body or in spirit, here or at home, as we sing together our opening hymn, number 349, in your gray hymnal or on the screen up in front of you.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Osta, she, her pronouns, and I'm delighted to be here this morning. As the middle of 3 girls and 4 boys in a family of 7, I learned cooking and baking skills at an early age. No boys invited. This was, after all, the fabulous 50s. One of my most memorable times in the kitchen occurred around age 11, when I ventured off on my own to make my first lemon meringue pie. I wanted to surprise Mom, who was off grocery shopping. I had watched my mother several times. I remembered how she carefully filled the pre-cooked crust in the glass pie plate with the yummy yellow filling. I ever so carefully followed the recipe to a T. When I was ready, I dolloped the delicious gooey egg meringue over the top of the pie to completely cover the lemon filling. I swirled it with the back of a spoon to make decorative swoops and swirls. Then the last step was at hand. I toasted the meringue ever so slightly by carefully placing it under the broiler for about 8 inches away from the broiling element, just for 1 minute on high heat. It was lightly toasted. Perfect. I couldn't believe it. It looked just as pretty as when Mom had made it. I prepared a place on the bottom glass shelf of the refrigerator so none of the other kids would mess with it. Wouldn't Mom be surprised when she came home from shopping to see the dessert already made? I waited patiently, so very excited to show her, helping first to put the cereal and bread and other groceries away. When it seemed the right time, I said, "There's a surprise in the refrigerator for you, Mom, just like you taught me. Look." I flung open the door. Mom gasped. I must have really surprised her. She stepped back, and to my horror, I saw the sunken glass shelf split in 2. I looked closer and found the pie plate had split in 2 as well. One part of the recipe I hadn't learned, where to cool the pie. I don't remember what we had, if anything, for dessert that night. I know I didn't run away in tears as I might have done when I was younger. And I don't remember anyone blaming me for not knowing enough to not put a hot pie plate on a glass shelf in a cold refrigerator. To this day, I can see the mess of my gorgeous pie as we deemed it inedible, glass shards everywhere. That 11-year-old learned a hard way to ask for help. Luckily, she now attends a church where she has help always at hand. All she needs to do is ask. She's probably ready to make something like stone soup. At coffee hour today, with Dave's help, there'll be some lemon meringue pie for tasting, no glass included. Now, bringing your unique gifts as we nurture our spirits and serve our community, let us join together in worship. As Kari comes forward, Kari Espinoza, I couldn't remember her last name, comes forward to light our chalice as First Universalists, and you light a chalice in your own homes, please join me in our chalice lighting words spoken in unison. May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit. And may we reach out to serve our community. Please rise in body or in spirit for our affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. Our November social justice plate offering is designated for rural and migrant ministry. From their website we learn, we put our mission into action through 5 program areas: accompaniment, standing with others, Rural Academy of People, nurturing leadership, youth empowerment, immigrant legal right protection, and community good federal credit union, financial equity. Please contribute what you can to support this important work. For more information, don't hesitate to visit their website, ruralmigrantministry.org. Please place your offering in the offering basket or give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This is also a great time to place visitors' forms in the offering basket. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you all for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received.
And now it's time for a story. Maybe you already know this because you read your newsletter, but this service is a little different from our typical services. in that this is a multi-generational service, and we are hoping that everyone of every age stays with us for the whole service. And because we're hoping that, the whole service is a whole story. And we're going to tell the beginning of the story now. So if you're a small person or even a bigger person and you want to come forward to sit up front and hear the story and maybe even help me tell the story, you can walk like a human or hop like a frog all the way up to the front now. Maybe you'll move like a different creature. I can't wait to see. This morning's service is all about the story of stone soup. And we're going to tell this story this morning, and I want to tell you that this is a story about real truths and about real people and a real place, but it is an imaginary story. That feels important to point out first and foremost, that we are imagining that this story took place long ago in an imaginary time in this very church. And I could use some help to tell it. So my friends up front, and also my friends in the pews, here's what I need. Are you up for making a little noise? Just a little bit of noise. When I say hungry, could you say rumble, rumble? Like your tummy is rumbling? Let's try it. I'm feeling hungry today. Your naturals. When I say stone, could you say thud, thud, or even better, thud, thud your feet on the floor? Like, nice, we're practicing. Like this story is called Stone Soup. Beautiful, listen to all those stones thudding. And the last one, when I say offer, this is a quiet participation. When I say offer or offering, would you raise your hand? Like you're offering something? Oh my gosh, who taught you all? You're good at this. I think we can do it. What do you think? Yeah. So here's the story of stone soup, at least as we're telling it this morning. Wow, I almost got you. The story goes like this. Alex was walking all the way from Buffalo to Syracuse, long ago in an imaginary time. And they reached downtown Rochester late one afternoon. They had been walking for hours, days I would think, all the way from Buffalo, and they were tired and they were very, very hungry. I'm afraid I won't eat because I have no food and no money, they said to themselves. No food and no money, and they had just walked into downtown Rochester. What were they going to do? Well, what would you do? Ewan, what would you do? You would ask someone for some money? Or Emmerich, what would you do? You would do the same thing. Maybe you would ask for help. Yeah. Well, Alex started thinking about that. And as they pondered their predicament, they walked down Clinton Avenue and they stopped to rest in Washington Square Park. Does anyone know where that is? Yeah, Rory, do you know where that is? Right over there. Yeah, you're right. It's right out there, right outside these very doors. And so the ministers and many members of this church back then, in that imaginary time, were preparing for Sunday worship. Alex had happened to walk into Washington Square Park on a Sunday morning. And Alex saw all of the folks coming in and out of the doors and getting ready, and they said hello. And these folks gathered around Alex, curious to meet this person walking from Buffalo to Syracuse. Times were tough at First Universalist back then, not just for Alex. And the people were longing for a good story, someone to talk to and lift their spirits. Hello, said Alex. I've walked very far today, and I'm really hungry. Would it be okay if I came in the church? You can come in and get warm, offered the minister. Oh, yeah. But I'm afraid we can't feed you. Times are tough at First Universalist right now, and we actually barely have enough food for ourselves. So now Alex is facing another problem, right? They asked for help, but they didn't receive it. Said a disappointed Alex. Well, at least I'll come in and get warm. So they all went inside to get warm in the big sanctuary, which back then in that imaginary time looked a whole lot like this, we imagine. Yeah, and Alex started to tell their tale. They told about how they had walked all along the highway from Buffalo to Lockport to Albion. And oh, hey, they said, I stopped at a Unitarian Universalist church there in Albion, Pullman Memorial. Maybe you've heard of it. Some of you have heard of it. Times were tough in Albion too, you know, Alex explained. And actually, times seem to be tough for everyone out here. Lots of people are hungry. But at Pullman Memorial, they taught me how to make stone soup. And Alex had an idea telling the story just then. I know, they shouted, we can make stone soup together. And the people of First Universalist looked at Alex kind of sideways. They were thinking, maybe they're delusional. I don't think you can make soup from a stone. But the congregation thought it would be fun to see how they pulled this one off. Again, times were tough in the church back then, in that imaginary time period, and the people needed some humor, and they needed some hope, and they thought if we can't have soup, at least we can have a funny story. They were pretty hungry themselves. And I don't know if you know this, but lots of folks today in this real life time period are hungry. Did you know? Yeah. Which we're going to pause the story for a minute to talk about. Has anybody ever heard of the acronym SNAP, S-N-A-P? A lot of grown-ups, maybe one or two kids. Well, SNAP is an acronym that stands for Help with Food. It doesn't stand for Help with Food, but that's what it means. Because many, many years ago, as a country, we decided we wanted to be a place where nobody was hungry. Rumble, rumble. We decided that was the kind of country we wanted to be. And that in order to make sure that nobody here was hungry, we would all take a little bit of what we had and pool it together. Pool together a little bit of each of our resources, and that's called taxes. And then we would take some of that, and we would give money to folks who didn't have enough to buy food and who were hungry. And in that way, we would try to make sure that no one was hungry. And in some ways it worked, and in some ways it was never enough. But for the last 3 weeks, SNAP, that program that tries to make sure none of us are hungry, has been suspended. So nobody's been getting that money, and for 3 weeks, lots and lots of people have been very hungry. And there's some hope that those resources will be given out again, but not yet. And so maybe you've noticed, because you've been doing some of this collecting work, right, guys? Maybe you've noticed that we've been taking an offering of food every week for the past 3 weeks. Yeah? Yeah, and so that's what we're going to do right now, this morning. We're going to take a food offering. So if I ask the folks in the pews, if you have some food that you brought with you, would you raise a hand? Because you're ready to offer it, right? And now, oh my gosh, you're already off to help. Would you bring it up front? And as my friends come to bring the food up front, we can sing our doxology. My mic is off because I didn't want you all to hear me singing. And now my my friends who are helping with the story is not over, but if you'd like to help with joys and sorrows, it's time to share our joys and sorrows, and you could help drop the stones with Elizabeth if you like. Because now it is time to share our joys and sorrows together. So as our young folks help us by dropping stones in the water for each joy and sorrow that I read, I want to invite you, if you feel so called, to place a hand over your heart, to take a deep breath, so that we can hold the joys and sorrows of our community all together. I want to share a joy from John that they are adopting their rescued 3-year-old Welsh Corgi that they've been fostering, and that she is such a sweetheart. A mixed joy and sorrow from Jay, who has had a rough week with an upper respiratory infection and appreciates the reminder of why no barrier to healthcare for all is the promise of a loving society. We share with Lisa in the sorrow that disability activist and force of nature Alex Wong passed away on Friday. May her memory be a blessing to the world. We share with Donna the joy of an 80th birthday party, a fest full of friends and family, and so much gratitude for that. And we share in Eileen's joy and Jose's as he has sent his greetings to everyone here. And now today, we share in a ritual to honor the many joys and sorrows we bring into this space, whether we speak them aloud or keep them in the silence of our hearts. So I'll ask our young folks if you would like to drop a stone for your own joy or sorrow into a bowl. You can do that now, and then you can stay up front right here against this front pew if you would like to for the remainder of the story coming up soon. And for the rest of you who are here in person, you will be invited to come forward and drop stones into that same bowl, to these same bowls. If you need to remain seated, you can raise your hand and someone will come to you with a bowl to drop stones in. If you're joining us online, we invite you to send a heart into the meeting chat. And let us join now into this collective ritual of honoring the joys and sorrows of us all. Thank you for all that helpers. And now it's time for a prayer. This is the time in the service where we usually take a minute for prayer, for centering, and then some silence together. So let's start by taking a big, deep breath. And then I will ask a question that I wrote for our children, but maybe is really a question for all of us. And it's this: what is a prayer anyway? Does anybody know? Okay, we better cover that then, before we pray. Well, listen, I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what a prayer is. But if I were going to pray, which I do every Sunday here, I would want that prayer to have 3 parts. And so I would like your help with these 3 parts. And the first part, I think, is attention, right? The first part of a prayer is paying attention. And so sometimes we start by naming what we're paying attention to. Sometimes we start a prayer like, "Dear God," and that's the name of what we want to pay attention to. Or sometimes we start with "Spirit of life." Or sometimes what we want to pay attention to is that still small voice within us, as the Quakers called it. So I would like for us to take a moment, a big breath, and you can name in the silence of your heart or write out loud what it is that you want to hold your attention for this time. Okay, we're all paying attention, right? The next part of the prayer that I like to use is a need. So we name our needs out loud. It might be a request, or it might just be a place to let go of what it is that we need, in the way that Alex needed food, or some of us need comfort, or friendship, or love, or support. Those might be needs that you would name in your prayer. And so I want to invite you now, with one more big breath in, to name right out loud or silently inside what it is that you need. I hear support, justice, healing, hope, courage, and don't we need all of it and then some? And the third thing that I like to make part of a prayer is a thanks, a gratitude. And so now I want to invite you to lift up what it is you're feeling grateful for. Maybe it's one another. Maybe it's the snacks you picked as you headed in that are already set out for coffee hour. Maybe it's a friend who's not here. Maybe it's the coming of winter and the dark season. Maybe it's any number of things. So you can go ahead and name right out loud or quietly in your hearts what it is you feel thankful for. Yes, I heard screen and elevator, things that make our community accessible, our kids, love, our friends, the support that we maybe named just a moment ago as a need. So let's take one more big breath in, and this is the part where we hold some silence together. So I want to ask you, if you're a young person or an older person or anywhere in between, as you hear the chime, let your eyes fall closed. And as the sound fades away for you, you can slowly open them again. Let us take one more big breath together. And our hymn of contemplation this morning is I Know This Rose Will Open, number 396. And now it's time to continue our story. So where we left off, everybody was feeling very hungry. Good, you remembered your job. Everybody was feeling very hungry, and Alex had suggested making soup out of stone. Oh my goodness. And the people were intrigued, but very skeptical, right? So, okay, said Reverend Michelle. She loved asking questions even back then. How do you make stone soup? Well, first, we need a large pot, Alex explained, and Justin offered to bring the largest pot that he could find. So he dug around in the cupboards and found a giant cauldron of a stew pot, only he couldn't carry it alone. He tried to carry it, to push it, to roll it even, but it was too big. So MJ offered to help. Let's work together, she said, and they rolled it to the elevator. You're going to picture a pot that's even bigger than this one, right? And they rolled it inside. They rode up the creaky, slow ride on the elevator and rolled it right to this spot right here in the sanctuary. Great, said Alex. And now we need some water to fill it and some fire to heat it. So several people offered to carry buckets of water and pitchers of water, and after many bowls and buckets and pitchers, they filled the giant pot. And they built a fire right here on the altar, and the water in the pot began to boil. Alex was very pleased. Then they turned around and said, "Now I need some smooth, round stones. That's the only other ingredient." The church had lots of stones back then, as we do now, near the altar for honoring all their biggest feelings. So Elizabeth brought them 5 smooth stones. That's a UU joke for real insiders. And they put those carefully into the pot. So could someone come and help me place these 5 stones in the pot? Okay, here's one. Make a big clunk. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5. And everyone's eyes grew round as they watched Alex carefully place the stones into the pot as if they were dropping in all of their joys and their sorrows. And after a few minutes of watching the stone water boil, Michael started to feel concerned that the stone soup might be a little bland. Right? And times were tough, and no one had much. But he did have a few onions tucked away in his pantry. And so he offered to add one to the soup. Well, soup needs a little flavor, right? He asked. And I like onions in my soup. Everyone agreed. So he produced an onion, and he chopped it up, and he added it to the pot. And someone, Lori, will you come add this onion? Everyone will have a chance, I promise. We're going to imagine that it was all chopped up, maybe sautéed a little. Now, Richard saw this, and he started to think about flavor. Times were tough, of course, and truly, they didn't have much, but he did have some salt and pepper way up high in the cupboard, and so he offered, that soup probably needs a little salt and pepper, and everyone agreed, so he added it in. Emmerich, come on up. Oh, here. Did you take a pinch? Oh, that's just how it looked when Richard did it. And then a pinch of pepper, exactly like that. Now, this got Sarah and Adam to thinking. And times certainly were tough, and they did not have much at all, but they knew there were a few sprigs of herbs in the church garden outside that just hadn't been gotten by the frost quite yet. Herbs would surely make this bland soup a little better. So Sarah offered to go and get them. And Adam offered to wash them and chop them, and then added the herbs to the soup. Okay. Yeah. Can you put them in the soup? Just like that. Oh, thank you, said Alex. Stones, like these, generally make a very good soup. It's quite filling when you do it right, but it's always better when you add a little texture and a little flavor. Well, that part was all it took for Patty. It's not much, she said, but I have a few cups of rice at home, and I could put those into the soup. So she offered to go home and get her rice and put it in the soup pot. Charlotte, do you want to do a scoop of rice? Well, it's imaginary, but so you can imagine it looks like whatever your favorite kind of rice is. Good question, Ewan. Brown rice Ewan's imagining, and we'll imagine whatever kind we like. And by now, the sanctuary was starting to smell delicious, and everyone was the good kind of hungry that you feel when you smell good food cooking. So a visitor in the far pew way in the corner had some carrots in his lunchbox, and he offered to add them to the pot. I'm gonna add carrots. Could you put those in the pot? Oh, thank you. And then Catherine found some dried lentils way in the back of a cupboard in the kitchen. And so she added those, of course. Right? Don't open it, just put the whole thing. The whole bag. That's right. And Miss Carol ran home to get a can of beans she'd been saving for a rainy day. Okay, you and Emmerich cooperate. There, it's heavy, yeah. And soon, not wanting to be left out, every person in the congregation had offered something, and the pot boiled with a thick, hearty soup that was almost overflowing, until finally the soup was ready. Now, there were already tables set in the Clara Barton Lounge like there are today. They used to do that here at First Universalist back in that imaginary time. But the people in the sanctuary were so filled with the warmth of community that they started to think, wouldn't it be nicer to share this meal out in the crisp fall air? And so they filled bowl after bowl and brought them across the street to Washington Square Park, where you might remember from a few minutes ago they had met Alex to begin with. And all around the park, candles were lit and tablecloths laid out. Such a feast. And the stone soup smelled so good that neighbors started to come around and check things out. And the spirit of generosity had caught this congregation. And so they invited those neighbors to come and share a bowl of soup too. They filled up bowl after bowl after bowl. And don't you know, generosity is contagious. So those neighbors ran home for some bread to add to the feast, and the folks at St. Mary's across the park saw it, and they brought out cups of coffee and hot cocoa to share. And finally, everyone sat down to eat, having brought what little extras they had in their pockets, or their lunch boxes, or their cupboards at home. And all those little extras had felt like practically nothing until they put it all together. And that day, the people thought surely there'd never been such a feast. They thought surely no one had ever tasted such delicious soup, and to think it was made out of 5 stones. So they ate and they drank and they drank and they ate and they danced and they sang and they told stories all afternoon. And as the sun began to set, everyone gathered along the street to give Alex a send-off. "Many thanks for what you've taught us," said the people. "Our community will never go hungry now that we know how to work together and make stone soup." So you see how the people of First Universalist learned from Alex's wisdom. They learned that together they were capable of so much more than they were on their own. They learned how contagious generosity is. And what had felt like nothing much was a whole feast when they put it all together. And now this is an imaginary story, as I believe we have covered. But imaginary stories can still tell us true things, right? So do you think the lessons that Alex learned are true? Yeah? Have you ever seen how one generous act can lead to another? Yeah, when have you seen that happen? Do you want to tell about a time? Justin is gesturing, for those who can't see, at this pile of food we have collected for real people who are really hungry right now. That one person said, "Hey, shouldn't we take up a food offering every Sunday if people need it?" And we said, "Sure." And we thought maybe folks would divide what they normally brought once a month into 4 Sundays, and instead they have multiplied many times over what they were bringing, and we are able to bring all of this good food to the Nestor Street food cupboard. And I wonder, have you ever experienced a time when you couldn't do something all on your own, but with cooperation or community, you could? Yeah, Ewan. Your friend taught you how to do the monkey bars. You couldn't do it on your own, and you needed help from a friend. Roy, did you have something? Building a snowman, you needed 3 friends to lift the big balls of snow all together. You couldn't do it alone. Anybody else ever have a time where they could not achieve something on their own, but with community and collaboration they could? Emmerich, yeah. Your dad showed you how, and you did it. We need to help each other, right? To teach one another, to cooperate, to put all of our strengths together to achieve the work that we think is important. And now I have one more question to ask, which is, why do you think we told this story this morning? Yeah. Because we are, in real life, not imaginary times, gathering food for people who need it, who are hungry. Rumble, rumble. That's one of the reasons. Because Thanksgiving is coming, and gratitude, Thanksgiving, right, always starts with acknowledging what we have when we are all together, right? Gratitude comes from grace, from these unexpected, unbidden gifts. Thank you so much for helping me tell this story this morning. And thank you so much for listening to the story this morning. You are all very clever, excellent storytellers. And now it's time to go back to the Wiggle Zone for just a few minutes as we sing our closing hymn, number 277, When We Wend Homeward. And anyone else to rise in body or in spirit to sing together. I invite you to remain standing if you're willing or able as Elizabeth extinguishes our chalice flame this morning. And let us read together the words printed on the screen up front. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts, with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in, until we are all together. And as we close our service this morning, I invite you to place a hand over your heart. If you're joining us online, I invite you to turn your settings to gallery view and look upon the faces of those here with you. And for those of us in this room, take a moment to look around at those gathered today. And I offer this benediction from Rebecca Parker. You must answer this question: what will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. Amen. And everyone is invited to join us for coffee hour immediately after the service in the Clara Barton Lounge or online in the current Zoom meeting. Justin and I will meet you at the back of the sanctuary if you're wanting to come to Newcomers Circle. We hope to see you there.